Once known as the Great Shellfish Bay, the Chesapeake was documented as having 200,000 acres of oyster rock by Captain John Smith during his voyages of discovery. Given that oysters' range is from mid-tide to 12 feet deep, they literally dominated the shoreline. However, oysters soon became a staple food, and once they were completely harvested away, the shoreline was opened up to wave action and erosion. The water impacted bare soil, undercutting riverbanks and damaging marsh roots. While the sand in the soil falls down, the clay content dissolves into the water, floating out into deeper water and settling as soft mud, covering over life on the ocean floor. It doesn't even take wave energy to cause turbidity, the bane of underwater plants. Eroded soil is one of the top 3 pollutants of the bay, along with nitrogen and phosphorus. The project is to return this shoreline to the original ecosystem that had helped maintain clear water in the bay before 1607. Step 1. Remove dead or dying trees. Step 2. Establish an oyster reef sill at the mid-tide line. New oysters will grow up to that tide line and marsh grass will grow down to it. Step 3. Backfill with clean sand for at least an average 8 feet width at 10-1 slope upwards. Step 4. Protect the still vulnerable steep slope at the bank with the EnviroLock living wall system. All installations conform to the permits obtained by the agent/contractor and approved by federal, state, and local regulators. Delivered, EnviroLock bags, which provide structural protection for the bank with no grading required. 75% sand and 25% topsoil mix does not shrink or sag while supporting marsh grass roots that will lock down the soil. Delivered, ready reefs. These are designed to deflect wave energy without scouring effects and to jumpstart oyster growth by local native oysters, recruiting their larvae to settle on them in spawning season. Good vertical habitat means longer life for the oyster above the existential threats on the bottom. Technology is giving us new ways to see the scope and perspective of the progress and results of shoreline work. In this case, a drone-mounted side-scanning radar has captured the evolving project. High tide after the reefs and sandy beach have been installed. The stable 10-1 slope means waves will not wash the sand away. Note: huge cavities were caused by undercutting of the bank behind the tree root system. Sand was forced into the cavities to prevent continued back collapse into the same voids. Some trees can be saved from certain death by salt water by protecting their roots and restoring the fresh water table around them. Low tide during work in progress. The kayak gap through the reef sill is visible in the foreground. It is a lot of work, but so satisfying because of the end result. The building of the EnviroLock living wall in front of the vulnerable clay soil of the bank. This particular type of clay, in fact, was deposited by the ancient Susquehanna River in its Exmoor Paleo channel that once stretched across the eastern shore. So we built to the FEMA flood maximum level, 5 feet above mean low water. Here is the close-up detail of the portals for the slurried sand, a truckload volume that were used to fill the cavities. A close viewing shows the marsh grass sprigs between the growth bags. The roots will penetrate into the bags without a compromising hole cut into them. The final touch, marsh grass planting. Marsh grass is one of the most productive habitats in the world, ranking up there with the rainforest and coral reefs. Creating and protecting marsh grass preserves the basis for the food chain in the bay. Notice on the right side the undercut retreating marsh grass on the distant point and the new grasses protected by the oyster reef sill, ready to expand next year on the project. The oyster reef sill has no new oyster spat on it yet. The excessively muddy conditions at the site may have been a factor. There is always next year. Some plants have not thrived. It is a good thing Ready Reef Inc. will be back to do supplemental planting as needed as part of its warranty program. This home stood unoccupied for several years and eventually sold for a lower than normal price. The reason was, buyers feared the chaotic, deteriorating shoreline. Now, the home's market value has been restored to full waterfront property status. However, living shorelines by law cannot be added to the taxable property assessed value, unlike bulkheads or riprap revetment. A happy home on a shoreline much like what Captain John Smith might have found in 1607.